You've stopped texting, you've pulled back, you've gone silent, thinking maybe the absence will echo louder than your presence ever did. You thought that by stepping away, he'd feel the void, he'd notice the silence, and suddenly he'd come running, right? But here's the thing, he didn't, he's not calling, he's not chasing, and you're sitting there wondering, why not? What more do I have to do to get a man to value me, to realize what he had? Let me break it down to you, because this isn't about playing hard to get. This isn't about some magic strategy or waiting game. This is about truth, about what's real, and what's real is this. If a man didn't see your worth when you were giving him your time, your energy, your heart, he won't suddenly find it just because you withdrew it. Silence can be powerful, yes, but silence doesn't plant value where there was none to begin with. See, the reason he's not chasing you now isn't because you're not beautiful. It's not because you're not enough. It's because for some men, listen closely, for some men, chasing was never the plan. You were never the goal. You were a convenience, a moment, a chapter, not the story. And when a man sees you as temporary, he'll treat you like you're disposable. Now I know that's hard to hear. I know you gave him your best. I know you believed in the potential. You saw the spark, the laughter, the moments that made you feel like maybe, just maybe, this was something. But baby, potential doesn't build relationships. Consistency does, effort does, respect does, and if he couldn't give you those things when you were showing up every day, don't expect him to start now that you've walked away. You thought ignoring him would trigger some primal instinct, that he'd suddenly recognize your value because now you're unavailable. But here's a deeper truth. You shouldn't have to disappear to be seen. You shouldn't have to stop caring to be cared for. Love, real love, is not built on strategies. It's not about manipulation or silence. It's about alignment. And if you have to shrink, silence, or starve yourself of affection to get someone to respond, that ain't alignment. That's desperation disguised as self-respect. A man who's truly interested, he won't need breadcrumbs to find his way to you. He won't wait for you to pull away before he decides to show up. He'll be present, intentional, consistent, because when a man wants you, he moves, he speaks, he shows. Let me make it even clearer. If he's not chasing you after you stopped reaching out, it's because either one, he never cared, two, he doesn't value you the way you thought he did, or three, he's emotionally unavailable and incapable of giving you what you want, no matter how hard you try to twist yourself into being the one. And hear me on this. When a man is emotionally unavailable, you can text him less, post more, play all the games you want. He still won't respond the way you deserve, because it's not about you, it's about him. It's about what he lacks, not what you lack. So stop internalizing his silence as your failure. Stop wondering what you did wrong. Some people are too broken to receive healthy love. Some people are so self-centered, so emotionally immature, that they mistake attention for affection and silence for manipulation. And when you step away, they don't come chasing because they were never walking toward you in the first place. You thought he'd chase you because you're valuable, and you are, but here's the part that hurts. Your value doesn't automatically change his vision. You can be a diamond, but if he's blind to shine, he's still going to treat you like glass. You see, when a man doesn't chase, it's not a cue for you to chase harder. It's not a signal to try a new tactic. It's confirmation. Confirmation that his heart was never where you hoped it was, and that's okay. Because you don't need to be chased to be chosen. You don't need silence to be respected. You need clarity. You need truth. You need a man who sees you for who you are and doesn't wait for your absence to realize your worth. Let's go deeper. You ignoring him won't suddenly make him wake up if he was never emotionally invested. If a man is secure in your availability, but detached in his intention, then your silence is just background noise to him. It doesn't pierce his heart. It doesn't shake his soul. Why? Because you were never planted there. So why are you holding your breath, hoping he'll notice? Why are you giving space to someone who didn't value your closeness? Why are you waiting on closure from someone who already closed the door? You're worth more than unanswered texts, mixed signals, and emotional crumbs. You're not a test. You're not a lesson. You're not a placeholder. You are a woman worthy of full presence, full effort, full love, and the man who knows that, he won't need you to go quiet for him to wake up. He'll already be awake, already moving, already choosing you. Let me say this to you like I would to my own daughter. Stop using silence as a way to gain power. You don't need power plays in love. You need peace. You need partnership. You need purpose. And any relationship that requires you to constantly prove, withdraw, or manipulate to feel seen isn't love. It's survival. You weren't created to survive relationships. You were created to thrive in them. You were built for connection, not confusion, for elevation, not exhaustion, for growth, not games. So if he's not chasing you after you stopped reaching out, good, now you know, now you're free, now you can stop waiting. Stop hoping. Stop giving your energy to someone who couldn't even be bothered to call. Because the right man, he won't need a strategy to love you. He won't need a signal to chase you. He won't need your silence to recognize your sound. He'll chase you, not because you ignored him, but because he sees you, and you deserve to be seen. You deserve to be with someone who doesn't leave you questioning your worth every time you speak. You deserve someone who shows up without you having to disappear. Someone who makes effort feel effortless. Someone who chooses you, not just when you're gone, but especially when you're here. So don't measure your value by who chases you. Measure it by who stays, who shows up, who builds, who listens, who values. You thought silence would spark desire, but desire without respect is just obsession, and obsession without intention is chaos. You don't need chaos, you need calm. You need clarity, you need consistency, so here's what I'll leave you with. If he's not chasing you, don't chase him. Don't chase anyone. Chase your peace. Chase your purpose. Chase your healing. Because the moment you stop investing energy in the unavailable, you make space for the aligned. The chosen, the real. You're not asking for too much. You're just asking the wrong person. And sometimes ignoring him doesn't wake him up. It just proves he was never dreaming of you in the first place. Let that be your freedom. Let that be your closure. Because the man who's meant for you, he won't sleep on you. He won't let you go to prove a point. He won't need to lose you to understand your value. He'll cherish you while you're standing right there. And that, my friend, is love worth waiting for. You see, it's easy to think that pulling back is the solution. That if you just stop calling, if you just stop texting, if you just fall off the map, he'll come knocking. But if his interest was only ever maintained by your presence, then your absence only gives him relief. That's the truth nobody wants to admit. Some men don't chase because they never truly cared to begin with. Not at the level you wanted, not with the intention you deserved. And when someone doesn't care deeply, silence isn't a loss. It's a convenience. You disappearing becomes an opportunity for him to explore elsewhere, to entertain distractions, to reaffirm that he never had to give you more because you were already giving him everything just for showing up half the time. That's not love, that's imbalance. That's you doing the work for both of you. Now, I'm not saying pull back is never necessary. Sometimes stepping away is exactly what you need, not for him to notice, but for you to heal. For you to stop pouring into a cup with a hole in the bottom. For you to reclaim your dignity, to stop hoping that someone who doesn't even respect your time is going to honor your heart. But if your only reason for silence is to get his attention. You've already lost, because now your peace depends on his reaction. Your power is sitting in his hands, and the moment you let someone else dictate your worth by whether or not they pursue you, you give them control over your self-esteem. You were never meant to wait to be chosen. You were meant to walk like you already are, like you are the prize, like your love isn't a bargain deal, it's a blessing, like your heart isn't on clearance. It's rare, it's protected, and it's only accessible to the one who's ready to handle it with care. But here you are, ignoring him, waiting for a man to notice that you've gone quiet, and deep down you're hoping he's thinking about you, that he's tossing and turning at night, realizing what he lost. But truth be told, if a man can sleep peacefully after losing access to your love, he was never disrupted by your presence in the first place. Real men, men with emotional depth, with character, with vision, don't need silence to feel your absence. They feel it even when you're just a little more distant. They notice when your energy shifts, when your tone changes, when your presence pulls back even slightly. You don't have to disappear for them to want to hold on. They sense the value in you, and they protect it. But the man you're trying to make chase you now, if he's still not moving, still not calling, still not showing up, it's because your departure didn't create a void. It just created space. Space that he may not have the capacity to fill, or worse, space he never intended to occupy permanently. That's the reality. And I know how hard it is to accept, because it means letting go of a dream, of a fantasy, of the belief that if you just played it differently, he would have chosen you. But the truth is, the right man doesn't require games. He doesn't need to lose you to value you. He values you because he sees you clearly, even when you're standing right in front of him. You shouldn't have to go missing to be missed. That's not a relationship, that's emotional roulette. Spinning the wheel and hoping this time he'll finally see you. But every spin drains you. Every silence chips away at your self-worth. And eventually, you don't even recognize yourself in the mirror. You become this version of you that's waiting, hoping, strategizing, all for someone who's not even thinking twice about you. And here's another truth most won't tell you. If ignoring him is the only way to get his attention, what happens when you stop ignoring him? What happens when you're back? Does he lose interest again? Does he revert? Does the attention fade? Because what you win through manipulation, you must maintain through manipulation. You want a love you don't have to fight for daily just to keep it breathing. You want a connection that feeds you, not one that drains you. A bond that's mutual, not forced, and you deserve it. But the longer you stay in this cycle, giving, then pulling away to be noticed, the more you teach your heart that love is something you earn through suffering. And it's not, it never was, real love. It's not afraid to pursue. It's not afraid to be consistent. A man who's in touch with his heart, a man who's emotionally mature, he doesn't need you to disappear to realize he misses your voice. He doesn't need distance to remember your laugh. He doesn't need silence to start chasing. He chases because he wants you, not because you vanished. You think pulling back is the ultimate power move, but the real power is in your standard. It's in walking away without the expectation of being followed. It's in knowing that even if he never comes after you, you still win, because you didn't lower your worth to stay in a place where you weren't valued. So why doesn't he chase you, even after you've ignored him? Because some men aren't wired to recognize what they're losing until it's too late, and some don't even care when it's gone. That's not your burden to carry. That's not your reflection. That's not a sign that you need to try harder, be prettier, stay quieter, or love louder. That's a sign to release, because love doesn't live in confusion. It lives in clarity. And any man who leaves you confused isn't the man for you. Stop trying to be unforgettable to someone who already forgot you in the room. You are not a background character in your own story. You are not a subplot in his journey. You are the main character. You are the one with the light, the one with the strength, the one with the heart big enough to love someone who gave you the bare minimum and still expected the best of you. You think he's not chasing you because you did something wrong. Maybe you should have waited longer, sent fewer messages, said less, given him more time. No, he's not chasing because he never intended to. And no level of silence will change a heart that's not capable of loving you in action. Words are cheap, regret is often delayed, and attention, that comes and goes, but intention, that's consistent. That's unwavering. That's the root of real connection. If a man wanted to be with you, he'd make it known. You wouldn't have to guess. You wouldn't have to check his story, wonder why he watched yours but didn't call. You wouldn't have to decode mixed signals like it's some puzzle with a prize at the end. Let him go. Let the version of him you created in your mind go too, because while you're waiting for him to chase you, the man who's ready to love you is out there searching for a woman who knows her worth. And she's not playing games, she's not waiting in silence, she's walking in truth, in wholeness, in certainty. You thought ignoring him would change everything, but maybe the change you needed wasn't in his reaction. It was in your revelation. The revelation that your time is sacred, your heart is valuable, and your love is not a trick. It's a treasure. So don't sit by the phone waiting for someone who never intended to be your forever. Don't lose sleep over someone who sleeps peacefully without you. Don't give chase to someone who's walking away from what you've worked so hard to give. The right one, he won't make you wonder, and you won't have to ignore him for him to see you, because the real ones, they show up even when you're quiet, they feel your presence even when you're still, they value you not when you leave, but while you stay. That's love, that's what you deserve, and that's the standard you set, not by going silent, but by choosing yourself. Again and again and again. He's not calling, not texting, not showing up, and yet you're still checking your phone every couple of hours, still rehearsing what you'd say if he finally reached out. And deep down, you keep thinking, maybe tomorrow. Maybe if I just keep holding out, he'll get it. He'll finally see what he lost. But you know what's really happening. You're pausing your life. You're sitting in emotional limbo, stuck between what you hoped he would become and who he's actually showing you he is. And that's the trap so many fall into. This idea that if you stop chasing, if you just pull all the way back, he'll somehow transform. But people don't change because you withdraw. They change because they choose to. They grow because life shakes them up, or because something inside of them compels them to evolve. And if he's not chasing you now, even after your silence, even after your absence, it means that either life hasn't moved him enough, or more honestly, you weren't the motivation that could make him move. Now, that doesn't mean you're not worthy. That doesn't mean you didn't matter. It just means he didn't have the emotional capacity to rise to your level. Some men never do, and it's not your responsibility to wait for him to catch up to where you already are. Love doesn't grow in waiting rooms. It grows in mutual movement, in shared pursuit, in reciprocity. You are not a lesson he needs to learn. You're not a project for him to figure out. You are not meant to sit in the shadows waiting to be acknowledged like some forgotten thing. You're a force, a presence, and if a man can't recognize that while you're standing there with open arms and an open heart, then silence isn't going to make him see it any clearer. See, you pulled back thinking it would draw him in. But the truth is, you pulling away only reveals what he wasn't willing to do in the first place. And that's the hard reality many try to ignore, because it's easier to believe there's still hope than to accept that maybe, just maybe, this was never love. At least not the kind that stands the test of distance, silence, or time. Some men don't chase because they don't believe they lost anything, not because you weren't valuable, but because they weren't equipped to value you. That's the distinction. That's the lesson. That's the thing you have to remember when the doubt creeps in at night, when you start to blame yourself, when your mind replays the good moments and tells you they meant more than they did. Because here's the truth. If he's not chasing you even now, even after you stopped reaching out, it's because those moments didn't mean enough to him to fight for more. And that should never be your burden to carry. That should never be your wound to heal. You can't make someone see what they refuse to look at. You can't make someone value you something they never worked to earn. You gave him kindness. You gave him consistency. You gave him love. And now you're giving him space, expecting that space will teach him. But sometimes space just gives a man room to move on, room to remain who he always was, room to fill with other people, other distractions, other things that validate his comfort and avoid his growth. You are not a trigger for transformation. You are not a test to be passed. You're a woman looking for love, for respect, for partnership. And if a man can't meet you in that space with equal intention, then silence won't be the bridge to bring him closer. It'll just highlight how far away he's always been. The ones who want you truly want you. They don't play hot and cold. They don't vanish just because you stopped initiating. They don't need signals or games or tests. They show up with clarity, with purpose, with peace. So stop wasting your time interpreting what his silence means. It means exactly what it looks like. It means he's not ready. It means he's not choosing you. It means he's not built for the kind of connection you deserve. You can't keep waiting on potential. Potential doesn't hold you when you cry. Potential doesn't protect your heart. Potential doesn't turn into commitment without intention and effort. And if you need to go silent for him to notice you, ask yourself, what happens when you speak again? Will he still listen? Or will it take another round of withdrawal just to keep his attention? You don't want love that only exists in your absence. You want love that grows in your presence, that flourishes when you're seen, heard, and understood. You want love that doesn't require you to disappear to matter, because real love, it sees you even in your stillness. It values you even when you're not performing. It fights for you, not because you left, but because you stayed. Too many people are chasing attention instead of alignment, chasing affection instead of truth. And you're sitting here hoping that ignoring him will ignite something in his heart. But the only thing your silence should ignite is your own awakening, the realization that you don't need to fight for what's already yours, and you don't need to beg to be seen. You deserve someone who chooses you out loud, who communicates, who makes effort without being prompted, who doesn't let the silence grow between you like a wall, but instead bridges it with presence and pursuit. Because if someone really wants you in their life, they'll make room, they'll move mountains, they'll show you in actions, not just words, and definitely not with silence of their own. You think your silence is strong, and it can be. But strength isn't in the hope that they'll chase. Strength is in your ability to walk away with your dignity intact, even when the chase never comes. Strength is in not needing to be chased to feel chosen. It's in knowing you don't have to play games to find real love. The most powerful thing you can do right now is release the fantasy, release the need for closure, release the hope that he's going to show up differently just because you fell back. If he wasn't consistent before, what makes you think he'll be consistent now? If he didn't choose you when he had you, why would he choose you when you're gone? This isn't about you being too much. This isn't about you needing to dim your light. This is about him not being ready, willing, or able to hold what you offer. And that's okay. You're not for everyone. Your energy isn't for the confused. Your love isn't for the passive. Your heart isn't for the emotionally lazy. It's for the man who sees you and says, "There you are. I've been looking for you, and I'm not letting you go." So while you're sitting there wondering why he still hasn't come back, ask yourself, Do I even want a man I had to go silent to get a reaction from? Do I want someone I have to ignore just to feel pursued? Or do I want the kind of love that sees me fully, right now, without needing absence to create desire? Because here's the truth: the chase isn't proof of love. It's proof of desire, and desire fades without depth. The man who only chases when you disappear is addicted to the thrill, not committed to the bond. So don't chase being chased, chase being cherished. Don't settle for being missed, settle for being maintained. Don't cling to silence hoping it will scream louder than your love did. Let your silence be sacred, not as a strategy, but as a sanctuary, a place you retreat to so you can hear your own voice again, so you can remember who you are, so you can stop waiting on someone who already told you everything you need to know by doing nothing at all. And when that day comes, and it will, when he finally calls, when he finally remembers, when he finally realizes the depth of what you were giving him, I hope you've healed enough not to answer out of longing. I hope you've grown enough to recognize the difference between regret and repentance, between nostalgia and truth, between a man who's curious and a man who's committed. Because just like he didn't chase you when you fell back, you don't have to run when he comes forward. You don't have to go back just because he finally noticed. Sometimes being ignored teaches you more than being adored ever could, and that lesson, that's yours now, that's your power, that's your freedom. So let this be your truth now. If he didn't chase you when you were silent, don't give him the reward of your voice when he finally decides to listen. Don't trade your peace for attention. Don't confuse delay with destiny. You were never meant to beg for effort, never designed to shrink so someone else could grow into their role. Love doesn't live in your absence. It shows up in your presence. And the one who is truly meant for you, he won't need silence to know your worth. He'll recognize it the moment you show up, and he'll never let you walk away wondering if he ever cared. Because real love shows up loud, clear, and without hesitation. Let that be your standard from now on.